Hey everyone, this is Mark from My Size Hedge Fund, back with the Netrunner Ireland Core 2.0 tournament, and we are in the lower bracket this time as Irish Madcat, or James, takes on Irish Rover, or Alan. James is up as Chaos Theory, Alan playing Jinteki PE, so it should be an interesting matchup again. Jinteki is always fun to watch, and we'll get into it. Again, it is pre-recorded, I'm sorry, and there's going to be some cutouts as things started popping up on my screen, but nothing to worry about. We'll show the main bits of the action. So on Alan's side, we have a good bit of ice plus a agenda, but he's going to chuck it back, and he gets an okay hand in return. He does have the ice to protect things, and Celebrity Gift here will be useful as well. Over on James's side, he's decided to keep because 2 Magnum Opuses, it's too good to pass up really. Plus, you have Diesel's card draw, Test Run to grab a program just in case very early, and Inside Job just in case you feel that they're going to get a bit sneaky or try to get something out very, very early. It's the start that you kind of expect here. Alan just icing up and Celebrity Gifting. James happy to Magnum Opus and take lots of money. So we're in for economic warfare perhaps. Who knows how long this could last. We have Yugora and Pop-Up on R&D. Part of me would like to see it switched. Pop-Up is always the one that you want to force them into as early as possible, and Hokusai is going to defend R&D as well. Both players here playing pretty fast. They know what they want to do. James has to draw. He's going to scout out here, and of course he hits the snare. That is going to set him back as he loses Infiltration, which is always useful in the Jinteki matchup. Inside Job as well, and Dinosaurus, which is very, very useful for so many reasons. You just stick it on your lowest strength break or your hardest to boost, and you can get going very, very quickly. Alan is going to stick the Brain Trust in already, so forcing James's hand somewhat. After the early snare, he may be a little more reluctant to check things. Gordian Blade in hand, you want to get that out. But he does have Test Run as a fallback as well. He has now seen no early MP, so that is something to worry about as well. And an Ash for Alan as well. The only issue is he can't afford to res most of what he has here. Everything we've seen so far is pretty cheap and cheerful, but he'll need to start scoring out soon-ish or finding some more money. But he's playing it like good old HB, just installing, taking credits, leaving the Brain Trust where it is for the moment, and possibly just trying to goad James into an early run before he's fully set up, fully ready to go. And this is causing some food for thought. We have Easy Mark's Economy. There was recently the card of the day on Reddit, and they were all pretty down on Easy Mark. And of course then you have Sure Gamble, which shows you what economy can be. Alan looks like he's going to score out here. Advance 3 times. Could do the 1 ping of damage. Gordian Blade is kind of the worst to lose here. But no, he actually leaves it. James takes advantage of this window, installing Gordian Blade, just taking lots of money. And will Alan score out here? He's actually going for the over-advanced Brain Trust. And there is the first of pop-ups. Thankfully not overlapping with too much. So indexing goes in the bin, which is unfortunate. Alan gets a Brain Trust over advanced, which means that cost of ice to res will be lowered by 1. So that should make things pretty tasty for Alan, who's a little poor economically at the moment, but Yugor is free, Pop-Up's free anyway, Enigma will be 2, and Icewall will be free as well. So not too bad, he's happy with himself. And hit a good hit as well with the indexing. That is one you want to take out. If you had choice of cards, that is the target against Shaper. James goes to hand, sees another no early MP. Not a huge surprise because he saw one earlier. What he doesn't know is that there's 2 of them, so he's going to have to be somewhat careful here. And here is where Alan's over-advanced Brain Trust comes to the fore. Going to be a free res here. Gordian taking care of business. And Pop-Up. So we'll get the Hokusai Fire, and Depending on things go, Neural EMP could actually be a real threat here. Loses test run. And that's unfortunate. While he does a sneak door in case something goes on HQ, he is lacking both a barrier and sentry breaker at the moment. Alan's turn, fairly straightforward as you'd expect. So now, James needs to find his breakers. And sooner rather than later. He's happy enough though to just keep the R&D lock in place. Taking one poke at a time. But unfortunately, pop-up window really makes that a proposition that you don't want to face too much. However, Nisei in return, that is a great agenda to steal. And finds his Mimic as well. Possibly one that he wants to install. Drawing last click. Maybe a little bit risky. And now has to hope that no Neural comes and takes that 1 in 5 opportunity. But Alan, content with just icing up R&D, that is where the win is going to come from. And of course, much cheaper with his over-advanced brain trust. Dinosaurus comes down, money up, and Mimic goes on it. So it's a 5 strength sentry breaker now. And that should deal with pretty much everything. But barrier is still the issue. And Alan can keep him out, but decides not to install the false lead. Oh wait. Maybe going for it instead. Yep, okay. That makes sense. We haven't seen a barrier breaker. There's not too many cards in hand. And you're kind of forcing them into a dicey proposition either way. Curious as to whether Alan will score this one out, considering what we've seen in the past. He does. Knocks a Sneak Dart bait out of hand, which is fine, because no ice on HQ, no need to worry. Hocus Aggrade, you'd imagine will go on R&D, well, unless it gets trashed here, which it does. So a good poke from James right there. Maker's Eye, probably holding until he gets his barrier breaker down. And Alan has to decide if he wants to keep whirlwinding things in. But the draw of Hedge Fund makes that a much easier decision. Now just has to hope that James whiffs on the 1 and 4 in HQ. And he has been good at poking HQ, that's one thing I have to say. Without Jackson Howard, without these cards to recycle things out of hand, HQ can stack up with agendas. Alan's been pretty lucky in that they've come at good times. But yeah, HQ is something to watch out for. Now that was an unusual one from James, I think. He went for server 1, possibly looking to see what upgrade was in there. Hit the Enigma, which he could clear, and decided to let fire. And now he will have to deal with the Ash this turn as the agenda goes in. And unfortunately, he doesn't know that this is Ice Wall, which is going to stop him. And it's an Ice Wall for free. Suddenly, over-advanced Brain Trust seems like one of the MVPs. Of course, I wouldn't recommend it. It has saved 3 credits so far. So, 2 extra clicks, 2 extra credits. Starting to break even now. But, yeah, not the most ideal strategy, I think. Instead, we're going to go Blind Maker's Eye. I don't think Alan has a barrier here. Nope, Roche Turret instead. So, can afford to score this out. Is going to tax a fair amount. But the R&D lock is well and truly in place. And now we have to worry about Neurals as well. If James hits a couple of agendas, hits one, but the rest of it whiffs. Okay, so he's safe. And has seen a couple of cards, so knows what's what. Unfortunately, Alan is getting pretty perfect draw. He can score this out, and he'll have the Beanstalk royalties to bounce back next turn as well. Also his Maker's Eye. That's, He's had some serious picks with his scores. Puts him on 5. And now James has got to be careful. He has to find his barrier breaker ASAP, because as soon as Alan finds an agenda, he can stick it in, and unless there's a barrier breaker on the table or in hand, and he has the money, he is not going to be able to challenge it really. You know, in a pinch, Alan can use false lead, but I'd say we'll just see him whirlwind as fast as possible. And all of a sudden that test run loss looks pretty impactful. So James is going to commit here, going for the single axis. And I think at this stage you'd be better off drawing up, finding your barrier breaker, getting your money sorted, and just being ready. You're on 4 points, you don't really need to overcommit. And we have a little bit of recounting here. But as I say, you don't really need to overcommit. You can challenge what's a pretty easy server 1 to get into, provided you have your battering ram. And looks like they've sorted things out. Okay, so we're good to go. So we've seen here a Dinosaurus Mimic that is unfortunately not being put to good use, and it's a lot of money being spent on that as well. The only server, or the only sentry we're seeing in place is Rotor Turret, strength 0. Mimic can easily handle that. And Dinosaurus is an investment that unfortunately you have to make, but could have been better served elsewhere. So we're going to see Beanstalk. Breaking this R&D lock could be challenging. Finds a snare, unfortunately, but not one that James hit on a multi-axis. And he's going to try and force him to come through server 1. But as we saw in a previous game, the battering ram isn't there, and the money isn't there to really challenge, I don't think. Now you can get it here. But it would have been far too expensive to try and go through as well. And this is where this is a classic Netrunner, where you have to work out what your windows are, what your opponent is capable of, and that kind of thing. Now we unfortunately have a snare that's going to waste, but it gives Alan time to shore up server 1, protects the Ash, because James did try and go for a poke before to clear out any upgrades, so maybe he was hoping that he'd come back through there. But instead, James happy enough to go R&D instead. But it's getting expensive. 2, 4, 6, 7, and gives Alan the credit. Not ideal. And hits a snare. Eesh. Doesn't have to remove the tag. Extra cards would be useful, however. Just the 2 neural EMPs in hand. But worrying times. So 2 cards in hand, 2 neural EMPs, doesn't draw a third. Does find a wall of static, so that could put an end to, or could make R&D even more expensive, an extra 2 credits. No, not choosing the wall of static there, but just can't find the last agenda. And again, this would be a decent window. But he's just being locked out of R&D at the moment. So more cheap and cheerful ice coming, but still no agendas. I think you have to draw here. And now Brain Trust Ice Wall. That seems the best that you can do, I think, because it's going to be a free ice wall. Swordsman, not too impactful at the moment. He raises the snare just to show him that it wasn't worth running. Jinteki mind games. So if needs be, he can use false lead, but I think you're better off just letting it rock. 60 ice wall up top. You have Ash at the bottom as well. And this is going to be expensive. I don't even think you need to res the swordsman. So James taking it nice and slow, making sure that the false lead doesn't need to be used. 8 credits. He already knows that 2 is going to ice wall. 2 has to go to Enigma because he's not sure what that upgrade is at the bottom. Then it's 2 on ice wall as well. That's expensive. Unfortunately, R&D isn't much cheaper. And this is where the overcommitting to the single R&D axes has come back to bite him, I think. Up to 10 credits and make the run on server 1. So this is D-Day, but I don't think he can pull this off. 2, 4, now Enigma's only 1, so that's a small mercy at least. Swordsman, I don't think you res. They can take the damage, they've no AI program. So 3 more credits they'll lose on ice. And then we have the Ash Trace, which Alan can win and will have the money left over as well, I think. So there's 5 credits left. It starts at a Trace 4. So bump it by 2, leaves him with just enough to score out. And that is the efficiency of Netrunner sometimes. So it makes it a Trace 6, which Chaos Theory unfortunately cannot break with Link 0 and only the 5 credits. And it will leave Alan with enough credits to score out the Brain Trust. I don't think he's going to overcommit this one and make it a 5-3, or 5-2 rather, with a bonus. But it will be enough to score out and keeps him in the tournament. So James unfortunately goes out. Alan will progress. I will pull up the rackets here. But as always, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. And we'll be back with another game from this Core 2.0 tournament very soon.